Hi, this is Pam with ROC Metaphysical. Hopefully you've seen some of the other videos, but just in case, I'll kind of give you a little background. So ROC Metaphysical, all one word.com is an online magazine that has articles that come out the first of each month. And along with that, I do YouTube videos of people who have written or are writing for the magazine, or they just want to talk about something and it goes to my YouTube page. So today we're talking to Sarah Itkin, who we both originated from Rochester. I'm still here holding the fort down, and she's out in sunny Colorado. So we're going to talk today about a little bit about her background and then what that is going to do to help people. So Sarah, I know your background is you lived in Rochester and you went to college and you got a degree in social work, if I remember right.
Yeah. Yep. I got a master's degree in social work.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Masters.
Masters. Well, shout out. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you used to do psychic mediumship work here in Rochester, in person at events and probably personally and, with people privately. I'm sure you did.
Yeah.
And I think you even then felt like you were growing in your development. And one of the things that I remember, and you can clarify, is that you have a lot of connection with angels when you do meetings, or if you want to call it mediumship. I don't know what you'd like to call your interactions with the people. So why don't you kind of give us a little bit about your background and where you've come from to where you are now?
Okay. So I like to call myself an intuitive coach and intuitive development instructor. I am a psychic medium and angel channel. And I also used to be a mental health therapist, as we talked about. I got my master's in social work. And so I give readings, and I also do ongoing coaching with people to help them move through any difficult life challenge or, any difficult emotions. Really help people get through hard times and love themselves afterwards. And then I created these courses to teach people how to develop their intuition, and I'll explain my inspiration for that. But so as I was growing up, I didn't know that I was psychic until I was in college, and I had a dream that my very good friend had passed away, and it was very detailed, and she did pass away a few years later, and everything in my dream came true. And so what happened was I had that dream, and so I knew I was psychic, and then I had other dreams here and there that were psychic dreams, but they weren't pleasant. And then I finally had a dream when I was in my early 30s. And right now so that was like around 10 or 12, 13 years ago. I had a dream that I was brutalized in a war. And it turned out that one of my therapy clients had experienced what I experienced in the war. I didn't find out until I saw her a few days later in my dream. So I knew that I needed to hone my gifts. And so I found a teacher in Rochester, Diane Ronner. And and she basically taught me how to develop my gifts, and they instantaneously exploded. So from there, I started to give intuitive readings, and I did, different events in Rochester. And then I was realizing that my work as a therapist felt very limited because I couldn't help people using my intuitive gifts. And I feel like using, therapy is so valuable, and I see a therapist, but when you have your intuitive gifts and you can tell a person Like I had a woman who was grieving that lost her son that I saw as a client, as a therapist. And I just wished that I could give her a reading because I knew that it would be very healing for her. And so I actually did give her a reading, keeping my fingers crossed that she wouldn't tell anybody because I was working for an agency at the time and I could have gotten fired. I'm sure I would have gotten fired for that. So, because it's not, considered to be research-based practice. And when I gave her the reading, her son came through and she was completely relieved. And where her grief was stuck prior to that, it became unstuck and she was able to move on. So I realized that I wanted to utilize my gifts by doing this intuitive coaching. And then throughout the years, I saw that there was going to be this big shift, and I didn't know what that shift was at the time, but I saw people stopping in their tracks, and then all these people stepping into their intuitive gifts that didn't even know they were intuitive. And I started giving readings to a lot of people that were seeing angels who didn't realize it. They were receiving intuitive messages and had no idea. And then COVID happened. And when COVID happened, that was that shift that I dreamt about. And suddenly, the world was turned on its head. And I think what happened was an up-leveling, even though it doesn't seem like that when you look at what's going on in the world, but there is an up-leveling that's happened to a huge amount of people where we're evolving as human beings. And part of that evolution, for those of us who have chosen to evolve, is developing your intuitive gifts. And because more people are receiving hits and messages from the angels and visions, and all these people are coming out from all over the place. And so I got permission from Diane to create my course, and so I created this intensive 10-week intuitive development course. And based on what I learned with her, and then what I have gathered from my own knowledge as an intuitive myself. And then I created my first mini course is a self-guided course. And I can talk about that later, but that's basically what happened.
Yeah, so it was, as you addressed it, and I think energy shifts, around the world, if you want to call it the matrix or quantum, whatever, that everything is changing and hopefully for the better. And with this energy shift, like you said, more people are opening up and may know things like, I sometimes I just know things and I'm just like, I'm sure I'm probably more intuitive than I realize, but when I was supposed to have an appointment with someone and I'm like, yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. And yep, it was true. It didn't work out and that's fine, but it's like, whoo, I kind of write those down so I can keep track because I'm one of those people, like I'm probably a doubter and, it's good when, you kind of keep track and then you see, when there's, it happens more often and then you're like, wow, I think I'm doing pretty good. Just doing my own thing without taking any classes right now. So the thing I wanted to ask you is when you work with a client, do you hear things? Do you just know things? Do you see things? What are the different clairs? And I don't know if you want to clarify a clair.
Yeah. Sure. So we receive psychic information through 5 senses. And so when we talk about that, it's our clair. And I don't know why they decide to call it clair, but it's clairvoyant, which is when you can see, have visions or see into the future. Clairsentient, when you can feel. Claircognizant, when you just have a knowing. Clairaudient, when you can hear. Clairsalience, when you can smell. Clairsentience, when you smell psychic information. Sorry, this is all receiving psychic information. and clairsentience when you feel that psychic information in your body, and then clairgustance when you can. I think clairgustance either you can taste and receive psychic information, or I might be mixing that up with clairsalience. But anywho, I am clairvoyant, so I'm clairaudient, and what that means is when I give readings, I can see into a person's life like a movie in my mind, and it's like in your mind's eye is what I can see. And then people often think clairvoyance when it comes to the future. I can see into someone's future, but the future changes depending upon choices that we make in a person's free will. So I like to, in my readings, at least, help gather information from a person's past and present to help them with whatever they're going through. And so I hear in my mental voice the angels. And a lot of people hear their mental voice, but they don't realize it. And so I was able to learn how to differentiate between my own regular thoughts and receiving messages from the angels, because I don't hear them through like a disembodied voice.
So you can tell either by the tone or the vocabulary, or it's just a different way of thinking when you feel the thought.
It's a different way of receiving, because it's like, instead of thinking, I'm doing the opposite. I'm emptying my brain. I'm not, Sarah's thoughts and all her worries and doubts aren't there. So I empty my mind, and then I hear my mental voice talking to me, and I know that those are the angels. I also see angels as well. So
what do they look like?
I see them as like little sparks of light, and then the archangels as colors, because each archangel has a different light ray. So you can identify them, because most people don't see angels as like how they're depicted in Christian iconography.
Right.
So, for example, Archangel Michael is blue. So sometimes I'll see blue orbs. So orbs, splotches, just random circles. That helps me understand who I'm talking to.
Okay, right. And everybody's different, so it could be totally different for other people, but that's kind of interesting. I've heard other people talk about, like, they see the little white twinkle, like little white.
Yes, that's what I see for the regular angels, the little twinkles.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that on occasion, so that's kind of cool when I see that. So I usually say hi. I'm like, oh, hello.
Exactly.
Right. So that, all right. So if I went to you, then, and I guess I need to learn how to verbalize better myself. So I love the fact that you've got a degree in mental health.
Oh, thank you.
Well, because I think it's so important. A lot of people are coming for help, whether someone is passed or there's a big issue and they're trying to find resolution, and, they come, and I've seen this when I've gone to fairs, that they really, really need help. And I think when you have the awareness, and this is just an opinion, I guess, that you understand how to talk about the topic, to provide information, because, and again, it's an opinion, I think sometimes the reader or intuitive isn't equipped to handle the problem or the concern. And then you could, just like if I was giving advice, I mean, I know only what I know, and if I give advice, and it might work for me, but it may not work for the other person.
Right, so, exactly.
Right. And this is a discussion I've had with my friends who are readers and my friends who are therapists, is trying to find that right place, and hoping that, I wish they would teach classes on mental health for intuitives, and
Yeah.
how to help them understand, because if someone especially is diagnosed with an issue, they could be at a very low point or a very high point, and they, the answers may not work depending on where they are in the scheme of things.
Oh, that's such a good point.
Yeah, so I guess that's my soapbox for today.
That's true. I mean, sometimes people are extremely depressed, and it takes someone who knows how to work with someone who's extremely depressed to help them. And sometimes psychics, I think everybody, I like to think that most people go into this profession to be helpers, but sometimes they might project their own fears or their own fears onto the client, or not know how to handle it when a client is very low. I mean, a lot of times people don't recommend therapy. They don't think about a holistic approach to healing. And I think that it's very, very important to be able to know how to hold space for someone who is really struggling.
Yeah, so maybe you could add that to your list of, teaching, mental health for readers, working
That's a good idea.
to work with clients, because, if I was a reader and, my life has been pretty good, I may not have an understanding of someone that has had a tough life, and family members have not been great, and you come, like, I kind of equate it to an emptiness, and they're trying to kind of fill it so they can feel happy and resolve the issue if possible. And I don't think I've ever heard any of my reader friends or people that have gone to fairs where the person had said, have you thought about going to counseling, or getting a coach, or, finding some avenue in conjunction with getting a reading.
Right.
And then there's we'll just throw this in the mix. I mean, you got past life stuff. I mean, if people are aware, I believe we've had many lives, and we've had lots of good lives and a lot of not good lives.
Yeah.
And there could be things that happen to us that color where we are now.
Right. Exactly. There's so much at play that can cause a person to struggle. Yeah. So I do feel grateful to have that background and knowledge, so I can help people on a deeper level if they need it.
Yeah. So definitely we'll send people your way.
Thank you.
They need that little something. So when you work with a client, do you use like cards, or do you do any visuals, as you sit with someone?
No, actually, I don't do any cards. I just basically, like I was saying before, is I see what I need to see in my mind's eye to help someone answer any questions, provide clarity, uncover like root causes of challenges. And then I hear again through my mental voice, like what I need to do from the angel's perspective to help that person. I also, when I do mediumship readings, I hear the deceased loved one talking in my own mental voice as well. So basically the person just sits there. And I just sit there, and I don't, I tried to learn how to do tarot, and I found it to be too complex, and it's such a great tool, but I was just too lazy to learn how to do it.
Well, that's honest. I mean, I try to play around with it, I'll say that. And it's a lot to learn. And I give credit to those people who have learned the cards and understand the meanings of them.
Yeah.
it's quite a lot to learn. So good for them.
Mm-hmm.
So because you've gone through this, and it's probably been, well, with your college and all, like 15 plus years of really being in this. So
Mm-hmm.
now you've accumulated all this information. You've now started with classes. Now, we did talk about you've got one class coming up in August.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk about it?
Sure, I'd love to. So this class is called Introduction to Intuitive Development. And it is a 10-week online course on Zoom, and it's recorded. So if people have to miss it, they can just watch the recording. But what I do, I'll tell you as quick as I can. So we remove blocks to your intuition, because everybody has blocks. Otherwise, if none of us were blocked, then we'd all be running around just as intuitive as me, and I had to remove my blocks. Activate your psychic intuition doing really fun psychic development exercises. We learn how to channel angels, spirit guides. We learn how to balance the chakras, the energy centers in our body, so that we can receive more easily our intuitive information more easily. We actually get to the point where we learn how to give basic mini readings. And so people will go around and take turns reading each other. And we practice mediumship too. And it's a really phenomenal course. If I do say so myself. I've taught it
That's all right.
many
Self-promotion
times.
is good.
Yeah. I am grateful for this course. I've taught it for many years, and everybody who's taken my course has been able to give a little reading at the end of it. So it's really designed for people who know they're intuitive, but they don't know what to do about it. And that was my problem. I knew I was intuitive, but I didn't know what to do about it. And because when you tap into your intuition, it's not like you have to learn how to give readings in order to be a professional like me. However, I do train people to get to that level. It's about how your intuition and being able to access it on demand, and to be able to channel the angels on demand and your deceased loved ones. It's a game changer for every aspect of your life, for career, for relationships, for your own personal healing and growth, and your own way to up level spiritually. So I have that course, and then I created a mini course just for $17 only, and it comes with a workbook, and my other course also comes with a workbook, but it's a really comprehensive workbook, and it's a 3-day course. And in that course, it's like a little mini taste of what we do in my big course. We talk about removing blocks to your intuition. And again, I do some of those psychic development exercises, not all. And then we talk about grounding, clearing, and protecting energy. And then I teach about channeling the angels. And then in the bigger course, we just expand on all of that. It was a nice way to get a cost-effective taste of what I do.
It's like a little sampler.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's good. And I think the one thing, the other thing we could talk about too is grounding and protection. I think that's very important, because with all the energies out there, and I don't know if you want to speak to it, like when you sit with a client, you may, like beforehand, or when you sit with the client, do clear your space and clear the connection so that you're working at the highest level.
Yeah, so I believe in the power of crystals, and I have this really beautiful fluorite lamp back there, that's really cleansing and clearing. So, but the really important thing when you're intuitive is a ground, and it's actually something that I forget to do. I just never got into the habit of doing it, but when you ground your energy, when you're intuitive, like you pick up on so much information, you don't realize it. And you can be very absent, or I should say, I can be absent-minded. It can feel like a little bit more anxiety, feel not fully in your body. And so it's important to do grounding work. I do that before I meet with a client. And then protecting is really important for everybody. I'm sure everybody who watches this channel is an empath, and as an empath, we pick up on every, as intuitives are empaths and pick up on, other people's thoughts and emotions and just frequencies that are happening in the world. So it's important to protect. So I teach people how to do that. And that's something like that can be done every day. And then clearing is a really important thing to do after I give sessions, but it's also something to do after, you've been around people, a lot of people, if you've been in a crowd or if you've been around people that feel like we're lower vibrating, energy. And so that's also a very important part of a daily practice. But I do clearing, I do grounding with a little meditation that my teacher taught me, which is in my mini course. And then I do protection by visualizing that I'm in a specific shape and a tetrahedron, and then I'm protected and I have my protective crystals with me. And then I clear using sage, and, grateful for the people in the First Nations to share their wisdom. So, because smudging is a Native American tradition. And so smudging is when you burn sage and just kind of light it all over the house and clear yourself with it. So I do that too.
And even I think people should just do it. Is it just like clean the house? I do that. I clean the house, and then I'm like, I open up the windows and I burn sage or Palo Santo and just kind of go through the house and kind of clean things out. And because in my case, I live in an apartment building, so you don't know, how many people have lived here and what energies they bring. And I do have a little visitor. So I used to, just say, you can, you can just go.
Yes. Be on your way.
Yep. And I thank whoever that it's all quiet right now. So I appreciate that very much. Yeah. I'm just trying to think if is there anything else that you think that, we should talk about? I know you offer numerous classes through the year. I guess we should mention your website and your Facebook page.
Yes. If you want to book a reading with me, first of all, if you enter the word podcast, all caps, you'll get $25. Or I can't remember it's 25% or $25 off a reading. And off a 60-minute reading. So you can book online through my website, which is www.sarah, S-A-R-A-H, itkin, I-T-K-I-N, .com. And you'll also find information about my intuitive development, my intro to intuitive development course, which is starting August 25th starts at 7 to 8:30.
And that's
Eastern
your time
every week. Yeah, your time.
Oh, okay.
Eastern time. And then you can also find my mini course on there that you can purchase for $17 on my website. You can sign up to be on my email list so I can let you know. Also, I come to Rochester pretty often and I give in-person readings in Rochester. So if you'd like to know when I'll be in town, you can sign up for my newsletter.
All right. And then is there a Facebook page too, or?
Oh yeah. On Instagram, I'm Sarah Itkin Intuitive. And then on Facebook, I have a Facebook group called Intuitive Connections by Sarah Itkin. And I post more on Instagram these days, but welcome to join my group.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. I like to keep track to see, what you're up to, because you're out in Colorado and I know you come back and forth, and maybe you go some other really interesting places.
I'd like to.
Since you're kind of on the West Coast, I thought, you might have been out to California or, Hawaii or something.
Yeah, not yet, actually. That's on my list.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
I have been to Hawaii, but not recently.
All right. So, is there anything else? Because I'm just trying to think if there's,
Yeah. Well, one last thing is, I do remote sessions. Obviously, you can't unless you want to come out to Denver, and they work just as well as in-person sessions. So I just
right.
want to throw that out there.
Right. Well, I guess, people are finally with it, but the thought was 1,000 years ago, and I'm joking when I say 1,000 years ago, reading had to be done in person, and you had to be
Uh-huh.
within, a 10-foot space of the person in order to do the reading.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not true. You don't
Nope.
need to be next to the person. You don't need to hold their hand. Some people do. I don't know if they can tune in better, but the information is out there from what I understand and from the little things that I've had happen is it's out there. So being right there next to somebody is not required. And that's why now technology is such a great thing because you can just do a Zoom or a Facebook or whatever technology thing you've got to do an
Mm-hmm.
online connection with somebody.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So thank goodness for technology.
Thank goodness for technology. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
So I think that's it. So if there's nothing else, then I'm going to say thank you and I appreciate your time. And I'm going to hit the stop button.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thanks.